Hey there, welcome to the Game Artist Podcast. My name is Ryan Kingsline. I am the founder of the Game Art Institute, where we train artists for the career of their lives. In this podcast, we interview amazing game artists to see what makes them tick and see how they got where they are today. So sit back, relax. I look forward to sharing their journey with you. Okay, welcome. I have Clete Shields with me here. We're here at Clete's site, and this is a bit more conversational, so they're not going to see a ton of us demoing anything, but we're just going to be here talking about the work, process, and art. So, Clete, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me, Ryan, and thank everyone else for joining us.
So, you're in Philadelphia. How long have you been there?
I've been in Philly since '99, so what is that? Almost 20 years.
Oh, man. I was in Philly 20 years ago. I left Philly 20 years ago, actually.
You're from Philly?
No. I went to school, art school, PAFA.
You're kidding me, really?
No, I'm not kidding you. I was there. I did the certificate. I did the first 2 years, and then I got a little bit too big for my britches, and I was like, I'm going to get out of here and do the last 2 years somewhere else. Although, ended up working out in my favor. But I did the first...
Gary Weissman?
Gary, I never got Gary for some reason. I do not know why.
Stuart, what's his name? Stuart?
I had Stuart Feldman, a lot of Stuart.
Yeah.
And then Anthony Visco, cantankerous Anthony Visco.
I know him.
Al Gurry. I was an Al Gurry acolyte.
Oh, dude, his studio burned out.
What?
He made it out okay, but he had that apartment. I probably wouldn't bore your listeners here, but he had that apartment, a great apartment out in Old City. It burned up.
That was an insanely awesome lot he had. I mean, it was amazing. And that burned down. Oh, man. I got to send him a note. But he's cool. Yeah, he's safe.
Yeah, great painter.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Did he lose work?
I remember he stored all of his work there. So I assume he lost a bunch of it.
Wow, that's all of his stuff. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about you. So
we probably know a lot of people the same. Okay, yeah, you're right. Let's get on with this.
Yeah. Hey, well, along those lines, do you know Lee Dunsmore?
Lee Dunsmore. Yeah, I met him in Monterey where I was living, and then we became friends. I came out to visit him in Philadelphia, and that's why I moved here. That's not to be around him, but I liked Philadelphia when I was visiting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Lee's holding one of my paintings for me right now. Actually, Lee and I, we went to school together. We'd party together. We did a lot of things together. Lee's great.
Okay, we probably met each other.
I bet. So that's cool. All right. So talk to me about your sculpting background. Like, when did you start? What got you into sculpting? And then I'm going to ask what you do today and how you operate and all that stuff. But just what got you into sculpting?
I guess the same thing everybody else. I mean, a little kid, you play with Play-Doh and, I loved Ray Harryhausen movies. And, there wasn't a whole lot of model kits back then, or cool toys. So I wanted to make my own. So that's kind of how it got started. And it just kind of grew from there.
All right. And then did you go to school for this? Did you study somewhere?
I did not. I had a brief apprenticeship with Richard McDonald in Monterey, California. And I was let go from there.
That is a little bit hardcore. I've heard this. Paige Bradley, you know Paige, right?
Oh yeah. She hired me for the position.
I had such a crush on Paige. I was so angry at Richard, Oh man. But yeah, that was, she was the one classmate at PAFA I could really connect with because she was so figurative.
Yeah.
So
she would describe herself as being very serious, and she was very serious about it.
Yeah. And so you did that brief apprenticeship, and then where did you go from there? How'd you get yourself educated? What'd you do to build skill?
It's just a lot of practice. I didn't go to school, but just, always, I still study a lot. Mm-hmm. So I guess self-taught is the right word for it. Phrase.
Yeah. Yeah. Richard even calls himself self-taught.
Yeah. Well, he went to, he did I studied in Pasadena, I think, for illustration. So sculpturally speaking, he was self-taught. In fact, he said to me, he said one time, I would never be an apprentice. I was like, okay. I think I was fired a couple weeks later. So,
oh man,
I felt the same way. I have nothing but respect for that man. I mean, he taught me a lot, and he lets you know how hard it is to make it in sculpture. And I'm sure he would probably like to be nicer, but he has to be. He had to be hard because it's hard.
Yeah, quality control, all that.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about your first job. What's the first job you did related to your art, your sculpture? How'd that transition happen?
Oh, well, I started working when I was 19, I got a job as a caricature artist in a casino in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And that was great. Loved that.
What was the favorite part of that?
Well, just getting to draw people so quickly. I mean, you have to figure the likeness out immediately before they even sat down.
Yes.
All this quickly. And then one day someone brought in some clay and I did a Robin Williams from memory. And everyone knew who it was. So the validation was there. And so I just never stopped sculpting from that point. And I moved to California, Valencia, to be specific, in hopes of becoming an animator. I was still in the drawing thing at that point, sculpting kind of on the side a little bit, loving it. And then still kept sculpting. And then I was able to audit classes at California Institute of the Arts for life drawing.
Yeah.
And I guess, but I thought that the first job sculpting, let me think here. Okay, you know what? I was dead broke. Okay, there was the park it was seasonal, right? So in wintertime, it was shut down. There's nothing to do. I had no more money. I took a box of sculptures I'd made. One was, I spent a couple days, did like a Batman, Incredible Hulk, painted them up, and I'm colorblind, so they're pretty garish in paint jobs, I'm sure. I had like a David Letterman caricature that I had, a little Barton Fink, strange selection. And I took those in a box. And my last $5, I put it in my gas tank, drove to Melrose Avenue, and walked down Melrose Avenue, went to every store that I thought would take sculpture and sell it. And, people laughed at me and told me, keep on going, whatever. And finally, I landed in Golden Apple comic book store. Have you ever been in there?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's a great comic store. Am I going on too long here?
Nope. Keep going. Great.
Okay. And so this guy said, we'll take your work on consignment. A couple $100, whatever, here and there. And he didn't pay me. It's just if someone else buys it. He said, you gotta go check out this thing called the Mad Model Party, because you might be able to find some work there. And that's now what's called Monster Palooza.
Yeah. There you go.
I go there. And then, meantime, a couple of those pieces had sold. So I was able to pay my rent. They luckily sold pretty quickly. And I got this commission. My first commission was this collector, forget where he lived. He wanted me to do this 4-foot-long piece of the Poseidon Adventure, the original Irwin Allen movie. Is that Irwin Allen? Irvin Kershner. Anyway, same guy who directed Empire Strikes Back. So I did this thing, the Poseidon Adventure, the capsized boat and all the figures caricatured, straddling it and struggling for survival. Yeah. So
awesome.
That's my first job.
And has it just been selling your work and on from there? Have you been doing freelance? How else?
I guess freelance is the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And then commissions?
Never had a permanent gig. Yeah, commissions.
Never a permanent gig?
No. I mean, I did some work with the Franklin Mint, oddly enough, alongside Stuart Feldman. For about a year and a half. And he was working there simultaneously. He actually critiqued me when I first was visiting Philadelphia, and it was incredibly harsh, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
What he said.
He's crazy talented, that guy. Man.
Yeah, he's very good. I don't know what he's up to these days, but the Franklin Mint stopped doing the figurative stuff several years ago, which is unfortunate for a lot of folks around here. But I didn't answer your question. What was it?
Oh, I don't know, but that's okay because we're on that kind of, because the other part of this is I used to live, do you know where Valverde, California is? Right out of Valencia?
No.
It's right. I used to live right up in that area too. So we've got a lot in connection here. That's awesome. So I tell you, the next thing that's kind of on my mind, because you got started with likeness. What makes a likeness? It's something that's on my mind right now, but how do you, as a sculptor, an artist, what do you think of? How do you think about likeness? How does that work inside your mind? Is there any processes you can kind of share with us?
What taught me a lot was this book called How to Draw Caricatures by a fellow named Len Redman, Redman. It's an older book. And he talked about terrific caricature artist, but he talked about the power of likeness. And the thing is, we all have that. You can picture in your mind, say, Bill Clinton in your mind right now. You know what he looks like.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of tapping into that, like your memory of what that person looks like and being able to transfer that onto the clay or paper or whatever. And the trick is to make your memory as it's being adapted in the material or surface is to be objective about it, so everyone else recognizes that person. But start with your instinct. Start with your intuitive memory and your instinctual memory of that person.
Do you think?
Obviously, it's much easier if they're sitting in front of you.
Yeah. Do you think anatomy helps or hurts?
Of course, it helps. Always. But you gotta push through with anatomy because if you have you know how it is when you're young, it kind of comes to you easy. That's why you just kind of stick to it. It comes to you a little easy and you fall in love with it. Then you start studying and you have all those years where you just suck. Nothing ever comes out the way you want it to. That's because you're learning something. So you got to push through the anatomy lessons, learn it all, get it so it's second nature, and then it will underlay with your previous and continuing intuitions. You're a teacher. You probably know this better than I can explain it.
Odd Nerdrum, he had a saying. You know the painter, Odd Nerdrum, Norwegian painter?
Oh, yeah.
Has this saying where it's first there's the likeness, right? And then there's the essence, and then there's the thing beyond the words. These are the three stages of making a painting for him. So the likeness was the first part. And along those lines, it's like if anatomy is something that I think we study, it's important. It always informs. It's just knowledge, but it's also a trap. And you can get stuck in there. Like, for example, I remember one of my teachers at Puffin, I forgot the gentleman's name, but he spent all his time doing these beautiful little drawings, but not then going off and creating these larger pieces that he was envisioning and things like that, because he's stuck in this process of these small drawings, this little tiny thing, and not taking the risks for more expressive or bigger work. And anatomy can become a comfort zone. But I'm looking at your work, and your work has anatomy, but it also has expression. It has drama. It has, it's all staged. You're looking at the Game of Thrones stuff, right? And it's like you got the caricature, but you didn't let anatomy slow you down. You built from anatomy. And I think this is one of the things that's really important for me to understand about you is how did you work so that anatomy didn't slow you down?
Well, I'm not comparing myself by any stretch of the imagination, but you look at, Michelangelo, Rodin, those guys, they would use anatomy to further their compositions. So I think that, it's again, what did Picasso was, learn the rules, then break them.
Right.
So knowing the anatomy, it can be a very wonderful tool. because, if you can finally understand the systems behind the scapula, on a horse, for example, then what you can apply that to a human is incredible. And you can just twist that around. You can, the teres minor, teres major, you can play with those a little bit to further the essence of your image. So I think that, I don't think it's a trap. I have to, it can be, it feels like it will be for a while. You got to keep at it. You got to keep pushing it through until it becomes second nature. That's why they call it the fundamentals. As you know, it's boring and it's very frustrating. But
I love that. So it's basically pushing through is kind of the key for you.
I think so.
How does anatomy figure into it when you're doing stylized? For example, the golem.
Oh, the golem. Well, now that you mentioned it, the anatomy's could have done a better job on that one. Well, that's just to emphasize his leanness and to keep your eyes spinning around back up to his face. Actually, I have that piece here. Strangely enough, right here in front of me. Yeah, see how it's, you got the line there, almost a backwards C.
Yeah.
Or an S. A little S, a big time S or weavy S. Just really wanted to get that snaky feeling there. So the anatomy is supposed to lend itself towards that.
Yeah.
Slithering up his body.
That's great. And then you have the anatomy punctuating like the toes are very specific.
That's to show the desperation.
Right. Oh, great. And then the anatomy in the face, it gets more specific but then simpler in the arms, the shoulder blades is helping that movement.
Yeah.
And I think these are the creative choices that are really powerful, I think.
Yeah, it's the hard stuff and the fun stuff because, it's actually so much, like I said a moment ago, it's easier to do something from life. Obviously we can't have Gollum pose from life.
Yeah.
But, when you're doing a figure study from a life model, it's all right there. And you just, you track the light and it's a very systematic process you can use for that. It's great because it trains your eye and it gets you coordinated. But when you're designing something and in your classes and your students probably understand this so much is that you have to have the knowledge of the figure and the anatomy And then you have to design it on top of that to make it appealing. And forget about function. You start adding function in there when you're animating. Holy cats and jammer. I mean, it's incredible.
Awesome. All right. So, along those lines, if we come back to the face, because the face is a big important part for a lot of my students in the game industry, it's kind of one of those multipliers. Like if you nail that, if you have that working, then it really increases your chances of getting that job and promotions and whatnot.
Really?
Oh yeah, totally.
Interesting.
So what are some of the things that you think are really important for capturing faces?
I was asymmetry is the first thing that comes to mind.
That's great. Absolutely. And so asymmetry, why asymmetry?
Because no face is symmetrical. I know that in my little knowledge of digital sculpting is that you have this ability to do one half of the face and flip it.
Yep.
I'm sure you can tweak the other sides, but there's a famous picture of Walt Whitman where they took it and they sliced it in half and they duplicated each side, reversed it, whatever. They put the two sides, the same side together.
Yeah.
With its duplicated self, it looked like two completely different people. Like you would not ever assume it was the same person. A lot of that, some of that was lighting, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing is the flesh. You watch an actor, like a close-up of an actor. We watched Lord of the Rings last night, my wife and I, in Two Towers, and just looking at the little twitches that take place in Ian McKellen's, lower eyelids. Just the minor things there. And again, to try and capture all those is a wild goose chase. But that's when your imagination, your design sense has to kick in. You have to think, okay, what does this expression mean? And this is, again, where you tap into the objective viewpoint. Like, what's going to communicate this to everybody the best way as far as the face is concerned? And animators, old Disney animators, used to have mirrors at their drawing desks to do the facial simulations. And they make, see those tons of pictures of, like they'll call making this funny face in the mirror and then drawing it with another character. So that's expression that I'm getting to there is a big thing.
Okay.
But a lot of times, if you're dealing with, I'm sure in games, you got these, these guys are badasses, these gals are badasses, right? So they're not exactly making a whole lot of expression. Does that answer your question?
It does, actually. So if I was to summarize it, it's asymmetry and picking an expression are kind of the key core elements for you to really help get in and start to nail some kind of likeness, some kind of persona.
Yeah, I would try, even try reaching for it. I mean, you guys can, with those toggles, whatever, you can pull and push a lot, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, we can pull and we can invert, there's a lot we can do.
Yeah, in clay, it's like, once you done is done.
Yep.
Well, not necessarily, but yeah, that's why I'm just, dig deeper, like push a little bit further. You can always go back, or whatever. Just keep tugging at it and see how it feels,
If you were to kind of describe your state when you're sculpting, is it flow? Is there words? Do you listen to music? What do you do when you sculpt and when you're just kind of working and you're in that, not the grind. I don't know if grind is the right word, but when you're in that place that things are going well.
Oh yeah, no. There was one instance I was working on this monument and I was about 20 feet I was working in the foundry sculpting this thing from the ground up. It was 20 feet from the crucible where they're melting the bronze at 2100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Man.
And I'm up on scaffolding and it's May and it's a hot spell in Philadelphia in May. So I got that and the heat and I'm just sweating constantly. The heat's rising right up to where and I'll tell you, right, I've never been happier because I didn't exist. And that when you mentioned flow, that's what it was. I was just a conduit for what was taking place. I know that sounds kind of corny, but that's the ideal place. Now that's, maybe it was the stressful situation and the temperature that caused that to happen. I don't know. Some kind of weird nirvana, but that's the flow. And that's that point where you just disappear. But in a more practical sense, I listen to podcasts, oddly enough. Silence is always great, preferable. Music, the thing about music is it's too short. Music is with dialogue, or with not dialogue, with lyrics is distracting, whereas conversation is not. So different people do different things.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just a little while ago, I was kind of dealing with that myself. I was getting back into sculpting after working on my business class. And I just started turning on some Twitch streams. And it was incredibly liberating to have somebody else just randomly talking as though they were in the studio, and I'm just sculpting away.
What's Twitch?
It's just the live stream. So they live stream games and yada yada from there. But my digital guys will get on there and just as they sculpt, broadcast themselves.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, maybe is that like ever heard of that ASMR?
Nope.
It's a weird thing. It's like an experience. Sounds kind of trippy.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people talk about it with like old PBS stuff, Bob Ross, carrying paper.
Okay.
Creates this reaction where it's almost like this, they call it like a quiet fireworks in your brain. So anyway, so that may be something like that.
Got it. All right. So sometimes podcasts, not really music. And the key
all the time podcast, actually.
All the time podcast?
In fact, you caught me in the middle of a Sam Harris podcast.
Oh, good. Yeah. Is there any favorite podcast you listen to? Sam Harris?
Dan Carlin.
History. Hardcore history.
Bingo, yes.
Man, I was listening to the one about genocide, and it's just awesome what that guy does. I love that.
Oh, yeah. It's just the only problem is once every 6 months he puts one out. It drives me crazy.
But it's so detailed, like just hour plus. Pretty awesome. He
has one he just put out a new one today. I haven't listened to it yet. But he put out one a little while ago about the Indianapolis after it delivered the atomic bombs for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You remember the scene in Jaws where Quint tells the story about the Indianapolis?
No.
Oh.
No, I don't remember.
Well, it's a famous story because these guys were in the water for maybe 4 or 5 days. Don't quote me on that, but they got attacked by sharks. A lot of sharks. So anyway, off topic. But I guess you can edit this, can't you?
We're artists. It's an artist podcast. If I edit this, then what the hell's the point? No, I can edit, but yeah, I mean, the key thing here for me anyways, is people just get to look, inside of Clete's mind and get a sense of how you operate and what's kind of important to you, cause you have kind of, I mean, I'm sure it's different, but from the outside, it's like a blessed life. You're doing your thing, paying your bills. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's, peaks and valleys.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
Yeah.
So, and those Philly summers. Oh my God. I can't. The first time I arrived in Philadelphia, you were talking about that. I was like, I'm moving the hell out. What's wrong with these freaking pilgrims? Like Britain must have been horrible for them to bear that summer. Oh my God.
All that wool, the 3-piece suits, the wool, the corsets. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
I'm going back to royalty. Please send me back. That was just like, that was too much for me. That was crazy. So, all right. With that done and said, now what's a day look like for you as an artist today? Or do you produce, sell? Are you doing classes? Like, what do you do today?
I get up, I produce, sell, talk with clients. I just got back. I went to Austin last week, visit with some clients.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I try to, Da Vinci had this thing, or maybe it was him, I'm not sure, where you work on every piece for 2 hours a day.
Oh.
Kind of keeps you fresh.
I like that.
So I try to do that as much as possible. Then at night, like my wife comes and we watch movies and I'll do little heads. Like this Gollum, you mentioned, that head. I've been sitting down on the couch watching movies or something like that. And the Game of Thrones, obviously, those kind of started out on the couch as well.
Oh, okay, great. What size are you working? Are you working like 2 inches, 3 inches, or?
Like Gollum's about, let's see, he's in total, I guess about 6 inches, 5 or 6 inches.
Oh, great. So it's like a 1 inch head, basically.
Yeah, I work on whatever size. I mean, I'll do life size, over life size, whatever it strikes my fancy, whatever I get hired to do.
Great. Matthew's saying he's walked by your Willie Nelson so many times. Where's the Willie Nelson?
Has he?
Yeah.
He has. That's cool. That's in Austin.
Oh, great. The Moody Theater.
Yeah. That was a wild day. That we unveiled that on 4/20 at 4:20 p.m.
Nice.
And Willie got up and played. 2,000 people showed up for that. That was crazy. Close off the streets.
Wow.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So when you talk clients, is this like collectors? Is this commissions? Or what kind of clientele do you work with to kind of keep things going?
Yeah, I got some collectors and those collectors also do commissions as well from time to time.
Yeah. That's great. And then when people want to find out more about you, they just hit CleteShieldsSculpture.com, right?
Yes. I have an Instagram account if they want to. Although admittedly I haven't put anything on there in ages.
Yes. Well.
I actually have a Star-Lord I was commissioned. I should put up there.
Yeah.
Some pictures with interchangeable head, no less.
How does the social media work for you? Is it something you invest much time in? Does it help you get clients or not at all? Not a big deal.
It's like kind of a little bit, it takes a lot of work. I mean, I don't know how much work social media actually takes. I don't know. It's, I'm a bit of a Luddite.
Yeah.
Come on, I still sculpt with clay. You guys are all digital over there, so it's, no, it's Instagram. This fellow from France actually commissioned an Edward Scissorhands. I assumed through Instagram, saw some stuff. That was cool. Is that you or me?
You.
Okay. That's me. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry.
So yeah, it kind of works. I mean, I get once in a while I get an order through a website, but sculpture is weird. I mean, you got to see it in person.
Yeah.
You got to, because as you know, it takes up its own space.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to pick the right picture and really identify like what's going on with that.
Yeah.
I guess with digital, it's much cooler. It was easier to do that because the people themselves are looking at it can turn it. Right?
Yeah, but you miss the physicality, and that's one of the things that's really interesting because I remember when I was working at Pixelogic, one of the problems that we ran into is, it's just like, it's like drawing, but in 3D. And so, it's hard to really, once you print it or make it in the real world, then it's like, it's a different object, basically. You see it, you perceive it, you feel it differently.
How do you navigate that? I mean, are you primarily digital now or are you walking the line?
I still walk the line, but I'd say I'm primarily digital, and then I just dabble in clay these days. I don't think it's anything serious, but there's so much efficiencies in quote unquote the marketplace for digital that's just such an important thing for me to communicate with the students.
Right.
Because that's going to be their bread and butter, basically.
Oh yeah, I bet. Definitely.
Yeah.
So it's great. You have the background. You have the traditional background.
Yeah.
Because you can bring that to the table. So your students are very fortunate to have you. And so they know PAFA for the time, PAFA was the pinnacle of figurative sculpture education. And right when you left was when it was at its peak. So yeah. So they're in good hands with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember that. There was at least another 5, maybe 10 years of figurative stuff. There's still lots of figurative people there. It's just so great.
I don't know. I haven't been by there. I mean, I'm still friends with a couple of guys who are long graduated.
Yeah. You still talk to Lee?
I haven't talked to him in a few years. No. We still have a lot of the same friends. Joshua Kaufman, Zach Keynes, John Grieg.
Kaufman sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well.
Good. So if you're talking, because I've got a lot of young artists here with me. And if we've got a bunch of young artists here that are looking at games, they're looking at film, they're looking at toy for how to basically make a living. What kind of advice do you give to people who come to you and they're just like, how do you do this? How do I do this? Because the alternative, actually the alternatives now are different than when you were starting out because you could work for Franklin Mint. Now that's gone.
Yeah.
And so the alternatives are like Starbucks and a couple of other places. So what kind of advice do you give,
No one's ever really asked me that, I don't think. Let's see here.
When
you're getting a job, when you're young, you really want to assert yourself as an artist. You have to kind of tamp that down and you have to be able to take direction. And the key to that is to understand the piece itself is what's important. Okay. And mind you, the people above you, the people, your creative directors, whatever, may not be the best, but there's a good chance there's a reason they're there. And they probably know the bigger picture of how things should look. So, you as an artist, maybe get ticked off because they want you to dull it down or whatever.
Right.
But at that stage, you got to just keep in mind the bigger picture. The piece is what matters. Or the film is what matters, or the game is what matters. You work your ass off and do your own stuff. Because when you're young, you have the energy.
That's a comment we hear a lot. Just keep doing your night work.
Yeah.
So what about when we're talking about developing their own personal style? Because that's something that comes up a lot. Do you think people have their own personal style, or it's something that you develop?
Oh yeah.
How's that work?
I think they do. I think it comes. That's what comes naturally. And I think through gaining the education, gaining the knowledge, will contribute to the style. And again, this goes back to the carrying the water all the way to the finish line, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a strange metaphor there. Because the style is inevitable. You may not even realize you have a style, but someone else it's going to be completely obvious to anybody else who looks at your work.
Right.
That's what I would say. So, I would say, worry less about style and learning how to do everything, all the fundamentals, get those down, again, second nature, like breathing, and your style will just flow. Because style, the thing is, if you develop a style too early, and the thing is, you catch on and people love what you do, and you're stuck with that. It becomes a niche, becomes a rut, and you can't get out of that. And so when you do decide you want to break out of that and do something different, and everyone keeps demanding this old thing you used to do. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah, doing what you once loved and now hate. That's got to be a special form of hell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, I'm sure Mick Jagger doesn't mind playing. I can't get no satisfaction too much.
Fair enough.
$1 billion shows.
Fair enough. Stop complaining.
Yeah. There are worse things. Yeah, but nonetheless.
Yes. All right. Clete, thank you so much for coming in for talking.
My pleasure, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. You guys got any questions? Shoot them my way. I'll get them off to Clete. And Clete, thank you again. Have an awesome day. Take care, guys.
You too.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right. So I want to thank you so much for being here, for taking the time, and for listening to this podcast. And I want to ask a couple of things from you. Number one, make sure you leave a comment or you rate this on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever it is that you're getting this. That's going to make a big difference in helping us get the word out and get people to know who we are. All right. The other thing is I want to make sure you know where to find us. So you can head over to www.gameartinstitute.com, where you can learn about our flagship program, which is the Game Artist Bootcamp. This is designed for those who are really looking to move the needle on their career and really lock in that job. You may have gone to school and learned a bunch, maybe haven't learned a bunch. But at the Game Art Institute, the primary focus we have is the very specific industry skills, the triggers that you really need to hit in that job interview. What are the specific things that they're looking for? That's what we're going to be training you on. We're taking applications right now for environment artists and for character artists. So make sure you head over to www.gameartinstitute.com and apply today. That way we can have that conversation, make sure this is a fit for you, make sure that you're a fit for it, and if everything is perfect, then we will sign you up for that right away and get you into your training and start moving the needle on your career. All right? Thank you so much again for being here. Take care. Have an amazing day.